And we are live here in 3D. Good day, and thank you for tuning in. 3D, the Daily Divine Direction broadcast. For all of our new listeners and viewers who are tuning in for the very first time, I'm Pastor Pope, and thank you for allowing us to come into your viewing environment. With us today, every first Thursday of the month, Rebecca Boova, our licensed and registered dietitian and nutritionist, who is here with us, BeccaTheDietitian.com, who is with us every first Thursday of the month, and we are greeting everyone with a Happy New Year. Becca, thank you for being with us. And
hello, and Happy New Year.
Yes, all of our listeners and viewers are excited about you being with us, so I'm going to begin by just announcing our sponsor for today's Daily Divine Direction broadcast. As always, is brought to you by Fiji Water. You may already know that Fiji water comes from Fiji. However, did you know that it is created by nature? It is untouched by man. It starts as a tropical rainfall which slowly filters through layers of volcanic rock. The water collects in a natural artesian aquifer where it is bottled right at the source, free from human contact until you unscrew the cap. Fiji Water, Earth's finest water, will be delivered right to your front door when you subscribe for delivery, and you'll save money at FijiWater.com. This is Earth's finest water. And speaking of water and making certain that we explore our health and wellness for this year, Becca, I want to say thank you once again, as always, for being with us. But I also want to allow you to start off with our listeners and viewers today to discuss whatever topics you might like to discuss with our listeners and viewers, and also respond by asking some questions from our listeners and viewers.
Awesome. Well, I do want to just again say Happy New Year to everyone. I'm sure we're all glad to see 2020 come to an end, and hopefully 2021 will be a lot better year for many, many people. So with the beginning of the year tends to come New Year's resolutions. You know, it's a fresh start. It's a chance to make positive life changes, and a lot of those changes that people tend to want to make circle around diet, healthy lifestyle, exercise, weight loss, things like that. So I wanted to just give a few tips on how to make some good goals for 2021 that you can actually stick with. So I'll start out by saying that it does take about 21 days to form a habit. So you have to do the same activity or live the same way for 21 days before it becomes natural and before you start to feel like, it's second nature almost. So that's important to stick with something for 21 days in order to make it a real habit. But it's also important to recognize obstacles that may stand in your way. So, if you know that stress triggers you to eat junk food or sugar, try and figure out ways to eliminate or minimize that stress, or come up with like an alternative to deal with that stress, maybe like a more productive outlet, like going for a walk or doing some deep breathing exercises rather than turning to something like eating food as a way to face your stress. It's also really, really important to maintain a healthy attitude throughout sticking with a new goal and goal setting. And we definitely do not want to punish ourselves for failures. So it's totally natural to regress or, go back to like eating bad or, not exercising one day. That's totally normal. You don't want to punish yourself for that. Just accept that that's the way that you're feeling, and then get back on the horse and get back to your goal and achieving that goal. So speaking of goals, I know I've mentioned before, it's always really important to make what is called SMART goals. So that means that they are specific, they are measurable, they are attainable, they're relevant, and they're time-based. So instead of just saying, I want to lose 50 pounds this year, you really need to do something that's a little bit more relevant. So maybe say, I want to lose 2 pounds per week in order to have a long-term goal of losing 25 pounds this year. And to do that, I'm going to exercise more and eat healthier. And I'm going to cut out added sugar from my diet, and I'm going to go to the gym 3 times a week. So that's an extremely specific because just to say you're going to lose 50 pounds, how's that going to happen? That's a lot of weight to lose.
And
we want to make sure.
And we lost you for one moment, Becca. So could you just cover that for one moment? You said about going to the gym, scheduling going to the gym. Yes.
Yeah. So did you hear the SMART goals part whenever I started the interview? Okay.
Yes.
So we want to make sure that they're extremely specific. It's something that's definitely going to be attainable. It's not realistic to think that you can just lose 50 pounds without making any effort or really making, definitive steps to do that. We want to make sure we're making something that's realistic by saying maybe like 2 pounds a week or 1 pound a week, and over long term that will accumulate into something more. But you're not going to lose 50 pounds like that.
And it's very important that you said that, because, and I know we had a little technical glitch for a moment there, but it's real important that we are specific. And I think what you just said to us makes us all more intentional about the weight we desire to lose. And so please continue, because we're all going to need this as we go through this year.
Yeah, definitely. So another point I wanted to make is that diet is going to be more impactful than exercise in terms of weight loss. So exercise is extremely important for your heart health, and being active just has a lot of different benefits, not only for your lifespan, but your heart health and your stress levels and well-being. But really, whenever it comes down to weight loss, diet is going to be where you're going to make a bigger gain. So just to give you an example, if you do a 2-mile walk or jog or run, you can burn about 200 calories, but that's much less than if you were to just eat a bagel. So, if it's a difference of going for a run or cutting out a bagel, you're actually going to make a bigger impact by cutting out the bagel than by going for the run. So I'm not discouraging exercise by any means, but I'm just trying to give an example of how, diet really is so important.
And it's interesting you said that, because I'm sitting here smiling and chuckling to myself, because we had a conversation about that in my household, because I would eat a bagel in the morning, a cinnamon and raisin bagel in the morning, whenever I would eat a bagel, not every morning, but I would eat one. And because I try not to eat more than 2 slices of bread a day, I would consider that as my 2 slices. But as you said, recognizing even though I like to run, the reality is that 1 bagel is more than 2 slices of bread, 1 whole bagel. So I had to start slicing them in half.
One bagel is actually more like 4 pieces of bread. So it's better to just have a half a bagel if you really want to have one.
And
there's nothing wrong with having a bagel every once in a while, but maybe just go for half instead.
And that's exactly what I did. So thank you for saying that, because when we don't think about the fact that if we're eating a whole bagel or even a half a bagel, and we are trying to say, well, and I would justify this a lot. Well, I eat so that I run so that I can eat. But the reality is that, like you said, if you're not going to maybe take that run today or that walk today, eliminating the bagel today will be more, helpful to us. So it will have more impact.
Sure.
So these are practical things that Becca is sharing with us are going to enhance the quality of our lives. So we don't want to miss this. So I hope everyone is taking notes. I really do. I hope you have your New Life Journal and you're taking notes, and we'll be able to apply this to our daily lives. So Becca, would you continue to share, please?
So, sure, certainly. So the last 2 points I just want to make are, don't fall for fads. So things like juicing or the keto diet, the carnivore diet, these are not going to be sustainable long term, and they can actually be harmful to your health. So really, when it comes down to it, the best way to lose weight and be healthy is to follow a healthy diet, to exercise, and to eliminate harmful things from your life like smoking, drinking too much alcohol, not exercising, things like that. And then the last piece of information I just want to share is to make sure that whenever you're looking for information on the internet about health and wellness and nutrition, you're using factual and evidence-based sources. So an example of something that would be evidence-based or factual would be a peer-reviewed article or journal So the Journal of the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, or trying to think of another example, or like a government website. So eatright.org is a government website, or heart.org. These are all government-funded health websites from the different levels of government related to health. So those are going to be reliable sources. A post you see on Facebook or Pinterest or Twitter necessarily are not going to be great sources. So if you do see something there, it doesn't mean it's bad. Just make sure that you're checking the link and where it's coming from, and that it's not a .com necessarily, but a .org or a .edu instead.
So I'm going to ask Becca, if you will, if you'll send that information to me later today at your convenience. I'm going to have that posted, because that's a very good point. We talk about that often, about factual information, and what you just described is absolutely correct. Now, of course, that doesn't apply to our case, because we have BeccaTheDietitian.com, so we're able to get factual information. So, but you're absolutely correct, and that's one of the constant things that we're sharing with listeners and viewers is drill down, do your research. So she just provided links for us, information to links that we can research information, and then of course I encourage everyone to be with us the first Thursday of every month, because BeccaTheDietitian.com is with us every first Thursday from 12:30 p.m. until 1 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, right here in 3D, the Daily Divine Direction broadcast. So before I announce our sponsor for this segment of the broadcast, I do need to ask this question before I forget. Becca, you mentioned something that piqued my interest. You said, don't fall for the fat. You used juicing as an example. You described how we can eliminate some of those things from our diet. Could you if you would, just share with us, you mentioned a couple of others, the keto diet, a couple of others that could be harmful. Could you elaborate a little bit on those particular diets, so that we have informed information? Yes. Yeah,
so fad diets, there's always going to be popular health trends. Some of them are good, some of them are not so good. So, I know that juicing has been, or doing cleanses or detoxes have become very popular, and a lot of times this requires buying products from a certain company and only using their products for, maybe a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks or something like that. Or even just doing it on your own, just simply consuming only juices or liquids. So this isn't good. We don't need to detox. We don't need to cleanse ourselves. That's why we have a liver and 2 kidneys. They do the detoxing for us. As long as we're staying hydrated, our body is taking care of that on its own. So that, that stuff is all not necessary. A lot of times it's just, it's bad marketing. They're trying to sell products,
yes,
essentially.
Absolutely.
So a couple other of the popular diets from recently are the ketogenic diet, or the keto diet, which is basically a high-fat, high-protein, low-carbohydrate diet. So a lot of people have actually had some great success with weight loss, managing their blood sugars if they have diabetes. So I don't want to completely knock this diet pattern. It really comes down to how you're going to do it. If you're seeing it's a high-fat diet and you're thinking, okay, I can eat bacon, I can eat butter, that's not good. It's never good to be eating foods that are high in saturated fats and trans fats. If you do it in a way that's healthier, and you're choosing plant-based proteins and unsaturated fats like olive oil and nuts and seeds and avocados, that would be a healthy way to go about it. The problem is there's so much bad information out there on the internet, and self-proclaimed experts that are sharing information that isn't necessarily completely true. So you definitely want to be careful with these types of diets that have gained so much popularity, like the keto diet or the carnivore diet. The carnivore diet is basically a strictly meat diet, so you don't eat anything but meat, pretty much. And that's not good for a lot of different reasons, because you're missing out on fiber, you're missing out on carbohydrates, which are our body's preferred fuel source. And a diet that's high in meat is extremely high in saturated fat, which is not good for our health. So if you're interested in something like this, I definitely encourage you to reach out to your doctor or a dietitian and ask them if it would be appropriate for you and how you can do, whatever fad you might be interested in a healthy way.
So
or not at all.
It's interesting that you said that, because you said don't fall for the fat, and I'm going to encourage, as Becca just shared with us, don't fall for the fads. We've got to make certain that we do our research, and we are fortunate and blessed to have Rebecca Boova, licensed and registered dietitian and nutritionist with us, BeccaTheDietitian.com, with us the first Thursday of every month. So we're getting great information here, and now we're going to go through some other questions, and Becca's going to share with us some other things that she wants us to know as we start off the new year, and that we can enhance our health and wellness as we go through the new year. And before we do that, I've got to do a little business here. So this segment of the broadcast is brought to you by T-Mobile, America's largest nationwide 5G provider, at no extra charge. So if you are not currently a T-Mobile customer, you may call or text throughout the day at 267-992-1424 on the T-Mobile call or text line. We will place you over into our queue so that you can become a T-Mobile customer and experience America's largest nationwide 5G provider at no extra charge. Taxes and fees are included in your bill, and if you auto pay by attaching a credit card to your account, you will receive a discount on your monthly bill at T-Mobile, America's largest nationwide 5G provider at no extra charge. So Becca, I'm going to ask you, if you will, if you would respond to a question that one of our listeners and viewers shared with us, and that is, if you do not like vegetables, for example, and I have to confess, I shared this with my wife this morning. I'm not someone who likes a lot of vegetables. I'm just not. And so one of our listeners and viewers said, what happens if you do not like vegetables? And one of the things, so I had an omelet with spinach in it this morning, and I think one of the things we have to do is identify the vegetables that we do like. So I like spinach, I like collard greens, I like broccoli, but I eat salad, but I'm not really a big vegetable guy. So, having spinach in an omelet, for example, could you give us some other suggestions that we can follow and that we can actually apply to our daily lives that will help us if we're not someone who really likes a lot of vegetables? Now, I know in your case, you are the picture of health. So if you could share some things that we could do that really will allow us to respond to our listener and viewer and apply it to our own daily lives.
So I want to let you know, you are not alone. There's a lot of people out there that don't like vegetables. And even me myself, at times, there's some days when I don't want to eat vegetables either. You might think I have the perfect diet, but I definitely have my weaknesses too. So in terms of vegetables, you made a great point. If you're not a big fan of them, but there are a couple that you do like, eat those. That's totally fine. I think I have mentioned before that, it's important to eat the colors, because every different color of fruit and vegetable represents different nutrients that we need.
Yes.
So if you're one that is a pretty picky eater and you tend to just stick to the same thing, maybe take a multivitamin just to make sure you're covering your bases and getting those different nutrients that you do need, if you're not getting them from your diet. So, and this also stands if you don't want to eat vegetables at all, of course. Maybe consider taking a multivitamin just to, as an insurance policy, make sure you're getting everything that you need every day. I always recommend maybe sometimes trying to mask vegetables or hide them. So maybe put veggies in your smoothie. You can add kale, you can add spinach. Some people add carrots and, all different kinds of fruits and veggies into smoothies. Or you can add sauces to your vegetables if you're not a huge fan. We want to be careful and not have anything that's too high calorie, especially depending on what else you're eating. But
so wouldn't it be good to put fettuccine, the Alfredo sauce over my broccoli then, you're saying?
So you can do that as long as you're not having too much Alfredo sauce and not having it every day, of course.
Understood.
But yeah, so that's a great example. So doing like maybe a little Alfredo sauce, this is something that we deal with kids a lot too. They tend to be pickier eaters and not want to try new things. So what we always tell parents as dietitians is just to kind of try and like hide the vegetables, so that way they can see that they can enjoy them, but maybe just in different ways than they're used to or than they imagined whenever they first were introduced to that food. So something I like to do is add a little bit of cinnamon to my sweet potatoes instead of sugar. I love to do that. It gives like a little bit of an interesting taste. Or definitely just try other herbs and seasonings too. There's like thyme, you could try sage, any different herbs or seasonings just to give your veggies a different taste is a really good idea. Or if you love pasta sauce, you can mix them in pasta sauce, cheese, whatever, or a little bit of ranch dressing, whatever helps you get those veggies in is important. But again, if you're just not a huge fan of veggies, maybe consider a multivitamin and possibly a fiber supplement if you just really don't like to eat vegetables at all.
Okay, so I know, I'm a firm believer in taking vitamin supplements, and of course I take a multivitamin every day. And our listener viewers said, we've all heard about eating your vegetables, and really wanted to know. So Becca just gave us some good suggestions to be able to consume our vegetables. So just identify the vegetables that you like and then apply some of what she just shared with us, and that will certainly help us to enhance our health and our wellness. Now, you mentioned something a little earlier, Becca, and I would like to ask you to address this because one of our listeners and viewers sent this in, and I know this is a case. I've talked to a lot of people about this, and we all may have some of this characteristic, but our listener and viewer asked about and being an emotional eater. How can you address that with SMART goals? And so I thought that was a very interesting question because this applies to a lot of people.
That is a great question. I think that a lot of people have this issue, and if it's not emotional eating, it's eating out of boredom or just eating out of habit. So I think it's important to first recognize that it's happening and then recognize what triggers it. So if you know that you eat when you're feeling sad, recognize that, kind of try and associate what emotions that you that cause you to do that thing, whether it be eating, junk food or ice cream or whatever it is. So recognize it's a problem, try and associate what emotion triggers it, and then come up with a game plan for how you can find a better outlet for that emotion. So, if you're sad, maybe instead listen to music or go for a walk or, do whatever. Just find some other activity to distract yourself so that you don't eat. Or even hang up a sign on your cabinet door or your refrigerator, say, if you're sad, walk away. Something like that just to kind of get you away. Another thing that people tend to do is eat out of boredom. So it's really important to be mindful of this. So we call mindful eating is something whenever you are taking note of the way you're feeling, whether you're actually hungry or if you're just feeling like eating. So there's something called a hunger scale that goes from 1 to 10. 1 is not hungry at all, feeling uncomfortably very full. 10 is starving, on the verge of passing out,
yes.
Stomach hurting really bad. So try and identify where you're at on that hunger scale to see if you're actually hungry. And then if you're somewhere around like a 7 or above, maybe have like a snack. If you're like in the 4 to 5 to 6 range, maybe have a tiny snack. So 7 or above, have a meal, maybe 4 to 6, have like a small snack. And then anything under 3, just try and avoid eating it all, of course. So kind of gauge your hunger level, and then just try and build different habits. So if, you just got to keep your hands busy at night after you've had dinner and you're watching TV, maybe do a Sudoku puzzle or pick up knitting or just something else to occupy your mind so you don't have to eat instead whenever you're feeling that boredom.
So, that's very interesting. You named 3 things. You mentioned, sadness. You mentioned boredom, and you mentioned habit. So I think it's real important, and we often talk about being intentional. I think it's real important, as you said, to identify what triggers the eating when it's not beneficial. Am I making sense?
Yeah,
And I think,
definitely.
I think that's going to be really important.
Triggers.
Yes, so there's a good word, triggers. So I think that's going to be real important for all of us to, as we go through this year, to make certain that we are identifying exactly what these issues are for us, because we want to really make certain that we not only enhance our health and wellness, but that we maintain good health and wellness as we go through this year and as we go into the next year. We don't want to just think about, we have to think about living in the present, but we also want to achieve long-term benefits. And so with us every first Thursday of the month is Rebecca Boova, our licensed and registered dietitian and nutritionist. And I'm encouraging everyone, go to her website, BeccaTheDietitian.com. There is so much information available on her website, and she's now accepting new clients. So go to her website, Becca the Dietitian, and BeccaTheDietitian.com, and really go through the website and get familiar with what she's doing to improve the health and wellness of her clients and become a new client. I'm going to, at this time, announce one of our sponsors, and then I have another question from one of our listeners and viewers. Today, this segment of the broadcast is brought to you by Charles Tyrwhitt, located in London, the UK. They also have stores in New York, Chicago, Washington, D.C., and at the King of Prussia Mall in King of Prussia, Pennsylvania. So if you're in any of those areas, check their store hours, stop in at the retail stores. They have everything that a man could need. They have ties for men, shirts for men, ties for men, suits for men, and accessories. I'm in all Charles Tyrwhitt attire today. If you are not in any of those areas, you can order from Charles Tyrwhitt at ctshirts.com, and they will ship and deliver right to your front door in an appropriate period of time. And the White Company, located in London, the UK, they also have a store on Fifth Avenue in New York. If you're in New York, stop in at the retail store. They have everything that you could possibly need: home goods, clothing for men, women, and children. If you're not in New York, you can order from The White Company at thewhitecompany.com. They too will ship and deliver right to your front door in an appropriate period of time. Becca, I'm going to ask a question that came in from one of our listeners and viewers also regarding diet and nutrition having an impact on your mental health. So could you tell us how diet and nutrition impacts your mental health?
For sure, yeah. So, whenever we eat bad, we tend to feel bad, and that's not just physically, but it can be mentally as well. And whenever we eat well and we eat all the different nutrients that we need, we tend to feel better. Physically, mentally, emotionally, everything. And that's because diet provides us with different nutrients that are important for not only our everyday bodily functions like our heart beating and breathing and our liver and kidneys detoxing our body, but also for your brain to work properly and your hormones to work properly. So it's very easy for them to get out of whack if they're not getting the right things. So things like your healthy fats, like the unsaturated fats, omega-3s, sources from like walnuts, fatty fish like salmon and tuna, avocados, other nuts and seeds aside from walnuts. Those are all great things for the brain and your mind. That's a great question. I love that question because what you're putting into your body absolutely has an effect on your mental health. So great question, and I really appreciate that.
Well, thank you for that answer. And Becca, would you just go through one more time the SMART goals, exactly what they are for our listeners and viewers before we let you escape for today?
Yeah. So we want to be specific, we want to be measurable, we want to be attainable, relevant, and timely, or time-based. So those are the SMART goals, and I will give you the info to share those on the Facebook page. And
we will definitely do so. And I want to say to Rebecca Boova, our licensed and registered, our monthly contributor, licensed and registered dietitian and nutritionist, BeccaTheDietitian.com. Thank you for being with us always. I know that our listeners and viewers have enjoyed getting such good information that will enhance our health and wellness throughout the year. And we look forward to you being with us again next month. Today's Daily Divine Direction broadcast is brought to you by Fiji Water. A taste of paradise will be delivered right to your front door when you subscribe for delivery, and you'll save money at FijiWater.com. May God bless you today. May God keep his face turned towards you. May God give you peace that surpasses all understanding. Becca, thank you for being with us today.